Hi, I'm Regan Aliyah, and you are watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press. Today I am excited to be joined by Regan Aliyah. How's it going?
It's going good. Today's an exciting day, so I'm in high spirits.
We're happy to hear that, and we're just saying before the interview, but congratulations. There's just another casting announcement for you. Please don't feed the children. New project. It's been an exciting time the past couple of weeks with the release of XO Kitty. I know you had the premiere as well where you're missing a few key pieces, but you did get to reunite with the cast. Show your support for the writers.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really cool experience, all like high spirits as well, super fun, super just loving, and we were really excited to see each other like all again as a whole. It's been like a year and some change, so it was really fun.
Because a couple of the actors are actually like they live are based out of South Korea, right? And then you have like the people in the US, Anna's in Canada.
Yeah, Peter is in Australia, so it's like a lot of different, and then some of us even out here, like Jocelyn, she's Atlanta, so it's like we're all over the place. So like to be in one centralized location again was like really, I don't know, something special. It's fun.
Well, we will get into Juliana and Exo Kitty in just a moment, but I wanted to cycle back a bit because you grew up in a performing family. So, who or what was the catalyst that really sparked your passion for the arts?
I feel like it's just like growing up with a whole bunch of musical instruments and hearing like my grandma singing all the time and hearing like my family talk about stories like back in their day. They're like, we used to do this, blah, 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 and perform at these clubs in our cities because they're from Oklahoma. Although I'm LA born and raised, they're all from Oklahoma. So they would be like, we would go down and ride our bikes here and bring instruments and stuff. So like those stories like really fueled me of like, oh my God, like I want that feeling too. But by the time I was young, they all worked in the school system. So like LAUSD, librarian, cafeteria, and like different things. So it was always like back in my day, and this. And it was like almost like a catch 22 of like they want me to go after my dreams, but at the same time they're a little nervous because they know how grueling and like gruesome and like taxing this industry can be, but they still really did support me to go like for it full fledged. And then my mom, she was also a dancer. And same thing. She was like, once she saw that I was kind of bit by the bug, she was like, okay, if you're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. You know what I mean? So since I was like in elementary school, I've been like jumping around in the arts, like dancing and then making music and then acting. Like I've always just wanted to be in entertainment and like make it an entertainment. So I don't know if there's just an exact moment or just specifically my whole upbringing that made me passionate about the arts in general.
Like every family gathering, there'd be a new story for
Let
you.
me tell you, one of my aunts would come down the stairs with an accordion, and I'd be like, "Girl, where did you learn how to play the accordion?" And it was just stuff. It was stuff, and I would tell my friends, like, "Come over. There's a whole bunch of us in one apartment, and just stuff happens. Stuff happens." An accordion on Christmas, it was nice, but it was so random.
These are the memories that you'll cherish forever. And I was curious, like, what were some of your favorite TV shows or films growing up? Favorite actors, maybe?
Yeah, I'm a big anime person. I'm a big like animation person. So like I loved Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, like those type of movies. I have like a Howl's Moving Castle tattoo on my arm. And then I loved like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like I like anime and animation a lot. But then as far as like movies go, I don't know, like I don't know, like classic movies that I grew up with, like the Spielberg movies and like those type of things that I would watch with my grandma, but they liked a lot of horror. Like they would play Jeepers Creepers on repeat and I'd be sitting there like terrified. But honestly, anything nostalgic is like close to my heart. So anything I watched as a kid, I just am like loved. I loved Angelina Jolie, love her, love her. But yeah, anything my family played is really like the things that I like. But now growing up, I love a lot of comfort shows for me that are like things having queer representation. So I would often turn on Atypical because Casey's storyline is so like identical with my life and stuff that I'm like, I gotta watch this to feel good. Like this is my comfort. There's a lot of them, and I'm like blanking out on so many, but there's a lot.
I did want to bring up Atypical because I know you posted something on your Instagram story before, Casey and Izzy, your comfort couple. Tell me about what you loved about, that pairing, because I think that they were so special and important, especially in terms of like it was another show on Netflix, and the iconic Slurpee night. They just had so many good moments throughout that run.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the conversations Casey has with her mom are things that I had with like my best friend and my aunt, of the kind of thing of like at the end of the day, you choosing yourself, you choosing your sexuality, and to follow that is the best thing you can do for anybody in this any situation, you know? So like if you're in a relationship and like you don't want to be like with that specific gender or something like that, the best thing you can do for them is to be honest and go live your life and let them find somebody that can love them fully and like all of them, like, and like really be there for them in all the ways that they deserve, so sometimes I turn that show on to hear that exact sentiment over and over and over again, because my friends always like to say, they're like we told you that 2 years ago, but it took a TV show to tell you, and now all of a sudden you're like, I understand. But sometimes it does. Sometimes I need characters. And I think just like sometimes the Izzy and Casey dynamic reminds me of like different things in my own life and like my queer experience and stuff. It's comfort. It's comfort. And it's also a really just cute show overall. It tackles a lot of different topics and stuff. It's just a comfort now. I just like it a lot.
I love it. Thank you for sharing it. That show was so good, especially with the family aspect, as you mentioned, like grounded in those relationships, having those difficult conversations. And hopefully you get to be a part of another project like that in the future. You also looked up to artists like Lauryn Hill, Michael, Janet Jackson early on. So tell me a bit about that love for them and how they inspired you.
Yeah, Lauryn Hill is the reason I make music. I grew up on a lot of like neo soul vibey music in general. Um, and I remember first hearing like a Lauren song and being like, oh wow, like she can sing as a kid. And then hearing like the fact that she could also rap. And I'm like, she's out rapping so many people that are just rappers. And I was like, that's how I want to be. Like, I want the respect, I want the knowledge, I want all of this. I want to like strive to be that way. And it's really like it set a bar in music, and it's always there of like, okay, like if I'm making this song, like one day, like when she listens to it, is she gonna be like, yeah, that's it, or is she gonna be like, girl, that's, you're not eating down? And if she think I'm not eating down, like I'm gonna be like, oh my god, let's go back to the drawing board. So people like Lauryn Hill, for just her knowledge and the knowledge she puts in her music was really inspirational. Also like Missy Elliott, her creativity cannot be touched, and performance elements of the Jacksons, of like Janet, Michael, all of them, of putting on a show. I really just like try to combine all of that and into my own artistry, and I'm just really grateful that like people, legends like that exist, because they inspire us to create more, kind of like in their honor, and it's a really cool experience.
Amazing. And like you mentioned, there's such pioneers in like hip hop, rap, neo soul, just entertainment in general, which is something that you want to emulate and put out there. Another inspiration of yours, your mother, Adrienne, who's supported you and your goals since your regional dance competition days, elementary school, you and your sister. Tell me about her strength, resilience, entrepreneurial spirit, and how that has really inspired you in your life and your career.
Yeah, my mom is, I feel like everybody's like, oh my God, I have the best mom in the world. Oh my God, my mom is this. And I'd be like, yeah, but you haven't met mine, you know? Um, she's really done everything for me and my sister. She had us at a really young age, and was jolted into being a single mom, really like really a single mom without a lot of help from like other family members and different things as well. Um, and she tried her best, and her best was extraordinary, which is a very rare situation where you don't as a kid, like if you don't have much and you have less money, less resources, you don't live in a big house or anything like that, to not feel different from other people is a really hard thing to do. But my mom made sure that we felt like we had it all, to the point where our friends wanted to be like, we want to go with them, like we want to hang out with, where, what are y'all doing, blah blah blah. And it would be like free museum days or free fair or free this, and she would find every single thing to make sure that we had opportunities and things to always keep our minds like fueled and moving, and things that we could focus on, so that we couldn't focus on like the fact that we didn't have certain things. And yeah, she started doing dance competitions for us, like choreographing it for me and all of my friends. We started winning trophies. We thought we were like the hottest people on the block. Like we were like, y'all is not as good as us. Like we got first place at our school dance. I started thinking that I was like, I thought I was the Jabberwockies. Like I thought I was better than everybody, and it was not the case. But it was really fun and like a bonding experience to be able to be on a dance team, have your mom choreograph it, and take that like as far as you could with all of your friends. And then that eventually developed into a girl group that she still was choreographing for, still creative directing, still writing with us and doing all that, to now she's still the head of everything I do, answering emails, being like, can you do this, can you do all that? Like she's really like a superhero. Like she is a superhero. And I owe my life to that woman, literally. And every single day, like all the stuff she does, I'm like, I don't know how I would move and shake without her. Like I just would collapse, and everyone in my life knows it, because I'm like, I don't know how to do anything. She's doing it with me. Like, but yeah, I'm very blessed to have her in my life, honestly.
It's like takes the definition of momager to the next level,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, except she's not the crazy kind where it's like, oh Lord, like she on her business, and like that's another thing. 2 kids, raising them by yourself. She still went and finished college, did that by herself, like, and was like, somehow I'm gonna get this degree. How am I gonna pay for it? It doesn't, it doesn't matter, but I need this degree. So she has like, her degree in journalism, PR, and all this kind of stuff. So that in itself really like helps me and my sister's career too. So like everything she did, like has us in mind, and you really can't not be thankful for somebody that just is so willing to give.
It's so admirable. And I read like an article or interview she did where she said that the personal definition of success is working every day to be better than I was yesterday, and discovering and executing new ways to bless others, which is such a beautiful way to live. And I think it's really carried forward with you and your sister, and probably touched a lot of other people in your life. So that's so special. And speaking of
She always is good with quotes. Any quote, I'd be like, wow. I was like, I didn't even think of it like
like, I
that.
wish I wrote that.
You used to have like books filled with quotes, and I'm like, you need like make a book out of this, because they're good. Like they're like chef's kiss.
Speaking of family, your uncle, Justice Smith, he's been quite active in the film industry over the past 5 years. Have you ever discussed your projects with or received any guidance from him?
Yes and no. I think it's a really interesting thing. Like I said, I come from a family full of creatives. And it was really one of those things where like we all, like my aunts, my uncles, we're all working to like be in the entertainment, and we would all like talk back in the day and be like, one of us is gonna make it. Like one of us is gonna make it, guys. Like it's gonna happen. And then we could start helping other people and putting other people on. So like when he started to make it, honestly, it was just like one of those things that were like really interesting to see, almost really weird. I don't see him in that light. Like when we go places and other people are like, oh my God, he's an actor. Oh my God, he does this, blah, blah. I'm like, that's so weird. Like that's just justice. Like, so I feel like that bleeds into a lot of the stuff that we do. Is like, I don't really talk about like any kind of work stuff with him, or like vice versa. Like we just hang out. Like when we're hanging out, we're hanging out. But at the same time, we're always very supportive and proud of each other. So if I do go and I'm like, oh my God, I booked this, he's gonna freak out, and vice versa. I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you worked your whole life for this, and you worked your whole life for this. So it's like, it's the support, but we don't really talk about it too much. I think I'm like kind of also like, I get like weird when people like watch stuff that I'm in my family, or like, I don't know, like I barely even let my sister like fully help me with like self-tapes. I have to ask my girlfriend, because I'm like, I could do it in front of her, but I don't know, like I don't want to stay away. But it's support, but not necessarily like, I don't know, we just keep it separate a little bit.
It's also probably because you care so much about like what they think, because you care about them, that you're kind of just like you're a bit nervous about that. But like
Yeah.
you said, the separation, if it works, it works. And I'm glad that you have that support. I know you've been to premieres together like for some of his projects, so it's nice to have that family unit together.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. And get like having a family that understands it, like everybody has creative endeavors of their own is like really good because you have that support system of like, oh no, like we believe you can make it, so we're gonna help you get there, like stuff like that, and not the latter of like, don't go do this, don't chase your dreams, or don't go after the arts because people don't take the art seriously, a lot of the times when you're trying to make it until you do, so it's nice to have, him and like my mom and like certain people really understand that what I'm working towards is real.
Well, as we get into talking about your current project, XO Kitty, I will note for all those watching, we are discussing spoilers, so please make sure you've watched season one in its entirety on Netflix before continuing. Now, you star as Juliana. What can you share about your audition and casting process?
I auditioned like self-tape like normal. I was in Jersey. Surprising. I'm always in Jersey when I book stuff, which is really interesting. Jersey's a lucky state to me. Um I was in Jersey at my girlfriend's house. We were about to rush out to go to a tattoo convention. And I was like, I have to just get this self tape in before I go. Like, I'm just in this like black crop top and this gray like thing. And I was like, I feel like the character would wear this. It's cute. Like, I could do the self tape in this. I learn the lines again or like go over the lines again before I do it. We do the self tape. I send it off. I was like, I think it was pretty good. Like, I feel like that's how she would be. And eventually got a call like, hey, can you do like this director session with everybody and like, go over the scenes again. And then after that, it really went to, hey, pack your bags, you're going to Korea, which is like kind of a crazy thing to be like, oh, I booked something. And then immediately it's like, I don't even have suitcases. Like I had to go and buy 3 suitcases to pack all this stuff because I'm going to be gone. And it was really wild, but like cool and almost like fast, very fast paced. Like it was kind of back to back. And I was like, oh, wow, like we're moving, like we're going. But very cool. Honestly, it was very cool.
What scene did you have to read in the self-tape?
It wasn't, I don't think that scene's not in the actual show. And I had a conversation with Sasha about this one time when we went to like a lunch with the cast in Korea, and she was saying that she'll write little things that are kind of weird in like the self-tape like scripts to see if the actors can make that believable. So like some of the lines you're like, oh, like where does this fit in, like what does this have to do with anything? But then she was like, no, I do it on purpose. But I don't think that scene is actually in it at all, or like, yeah, no, not even the concept of the scene is in there. But it was still a cute scene, and I think it still had the essence of the characters, which is what they really needed to see.
I'm guessing it was one between Yuri and Juliana.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like almost like a hidden test that Sasha seems to input into these audition scenes. How familiar were you with Jenny Han and the To All the Boys
I feel
universe?
like everybody has seen like To All the Boys, like we've all seen it, a lot of people have read it. I remember sitting down with my sister and we're like rom-com people, like I've seen like every rom-com. I love that kind of stuff. I eat it up, right? So I remember us sitting being like, we're gonna judge this and see if this is like one of those really good rom-coms. And after I was like, it was kind of cute, like I'm not gonna lie, like it was kind of eaten. So I think we all just kind of like remember watching it or like being a part of that like Twitter conversations about it. I definitely remember seeing it all over Twitter being like, I'm team Peter, I love this and blah blah blah. So I was pretty familiar. Yeah.
In terms of conversations, like what kinds of discussions did you have with Jenny and Sasha about Juliana and her role in the story?
It was really like easygoing things, like very like how you feel like the character should be portrayed. We're gonna trust you, like this is the route, blah blah blah. Like it was what honestly like not much that's any type of like crazy discussion that I think people would want to know. Like it was really just logistics of situations and stuff like that. But Juliana's a pretty easy character, like easygoing character. Like we get a short glimpse into her world, so it wasn't too much that we had to like really pick apart yet. But hopefully in the future there's like more that we can dive into about her backstory and see why she is the way she is or how certain things came to be in the show. That would be lovely, very lovely.
Almost curious if like when you were kind of given the character description, like maybe because at the end of the season, which we'll talk about when we get there, but it's almost framed as if like you would have a bigger role in a second season. So is that something that maybe was a bit alluded to, like this role could expand?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was told that upon like auditioning, like, hey, this is like, don't brush this off, like this is serious for what we're setting up and this and this. So that's why I was like getting those short glimpses. It's like something I'm definitely like promoting and like excited about because one, the cast is amazing, they're super super nice, everyone involved is super nice, but two, it's like I know where it can possibly go in the future, and I think that is an exciting story to tell as well.
How were Jenny and Sasha as resources and leaders, like on set, like anytime you had questions, that kind of thing?
Always there. A lot of my scenes, like Sasha was there, super sweet. Honestly, you have anything, like you could ask anybody on that set and they would be right there to tell you. Yeah, very sweet, very like excited about the project. I mean, like it's Jenny's baby still. Like, like this is like a spin-off of something that she like fully created. Now this is a whole show she created. So it's like they were always there as resources regardless of anything.
What can you share about Juliana's backstory that you were either told or created to provide yourself context? Not going into, too much about what might be explored in the future, but it's always nice to kind of know where your character's like base is at in terms of her upbringing, relationship with parents, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say that she's very honest about what she wants, but that doesn't necessarily always mean everybody else can be happy about that. So similar to Yuri's case, her parents don't necessarily agree with that lifestyle that she wants to live. And they are a lot more conservative than she is. Hence why if a housekeeper would see something that they would go tell it and then she would be out of there. So that was kind of like all I really needed to bounce off of what was going on is like, hey, like you're in a situation where this is like what you love, who you love, but you can't necessarily fully be there at school with all your friends and at like, doing the things that you want to do because of your home life, and that has to like be the thing that drives you to be like, we're still going to make this work. It doesn't matter about all these people. One day we're still going to like rock, like we gonna make this work somehow, you know what I mean? But the rest I think is like I don't want to put too much out there because I think that is really like Ginny and Sasha know where they want to take the show in the future, and I think that a lot of things can switch up in ways that we didn't even imagine, where it could be even cooler than what I'm saying right now. So there's a lot of potential where things can go a lot of different ways, and I think a lot of characters can have very complex and detailed backstories if we let them have the chance in the next season.
She definitely has, I would say, a decent upbringing in terms of like social class. Like her parents definitely have the money to send her elsewhere, whether there's also some help from Yuri's mom, maybe, but
She had a
maybe
housekeeper. She had a housekeeper. That and that she has all this art equipment. I was like, oh, y'all got money. Like, y'all,
you're
and
like,
you
I
said
know how much that stuff costs. I've seen that in the stores.
y'all got some money.
Is art something she kind of turns to as an escape? Like, what do you think draws her towards her artwork?
I think that's a place that she can be free. Like there's nobody that could tell her what to do necessarily. Like she has the control over that situation. So I think it is a great outlet in the show and in real life. Art is something where you can release with no limits or no one confining what you do. So I definitely think that's her like release and her freedom is her art, and she can do what she like, paint what she loves and what she wants to do with it. So definitely.
Tell me about Juliana's relationship with Yuri. Like, how long do you think they've been friends for? How do you imagine they first met?
Oh, I mean, I could say like a lot of different things about my imagination, but then at the same time, I'm like, I don't necessarily know if I want to because I'm like, I don't want to stick something in people's head that could possibly change in the future. Um, but with what we see, like they're very comfortable with each other. They feel very like, you know, like they've been together for a while. They spent obviously a whole summer together, so there could be a lot of ways that we push the story along and explain different things, but they're definitely comfortable. Like I could say a lot of things, but at the end of the day, like we'll see. We'll see their story.
We'll leave it open for a flashback scene, more flashback scenes maybe, because we do get to see one of them when
Mhm.
Yuri's kind of thinking back. What do you think draws Juliana towards Yuri? Like, even just saying in the present day, like, what about her as a person? What about her spirit?
I think that the Yuri that is at the school is very different than the one that she would know. She would know that the one that is like very honest and very like open and expressive about how they like really feel about family life and all of that, because you know what I mean, like if you're both closeted and stuff, there's a lot that you can share with each other and relate to versus just everybody else at the school that may not have the same identity as you. So I think that that is like a big like relationship like key point for them, is like they're probably very honest with each other and like can really relate to one another's experiences.
What can you share about filming that farewell scene in episode 3 where Juliana reveals her parents are sending her to school in England? She expresses support at that time for Yuri and Day's fake relationship. So, is there any kind of key moments you remember from filming?
I think it's like, she thinks it's a genius plan. She thinks it's smart. Like she's like, listen, like ride this wave out and life will be good to go. But there are other elements in that she doesn't know. Like she doesn't know about like, Yuri's mom necessarily meddling in between that. So I think she's very like optimistic and bright-eyed about everything, even though it may be a lot harder than she necessarily thinks. I think she's always just kind of like thinking about the positives until she like the naiveness kind of wears off a little bit of like, hey, like this is now long distance in this way, like, hey, who are you hanging out with, this could be a little weird, like. But I think on most of the time she tries to stay optimistic about every part of their weird situation.
How do you think that conversation with her parents went off screen in terms of them sending her away? Like, what words do you think were exchanged? What reason did they give for sending her to Oxham?
I mean, it can't go good. I can't imagine her being happy about it. um I think it's just one of those things where it's like you don't want to necessarily disrespect your parents because they are your parents, but sometimes they don't be knowing what's best and they do stuff that they could regret in the future. So I think she just probably told her side and her piece of like, I this is what's going on. I don't think she would probably necessarily lie about it because she seems very honest and very like open about different things. Maybe she tried to reason with them and it just didn't work. Or maybe they weren't even trying to fully send her away and that the mom kind of pressed their hand. Like we don't really know. Like there could be a lot of different ways to think about that. For me, I just probably thought about it more on set as like they're not cool with it. Her parents aren't cool with it. They came together, sent you away, and now you have to think about the positives instead of the negatives.
Yeah, that's something that was really like sparked my curiosity, which is the fact that there's obviously that fake relationship going on. And Juliana mentions even her mom kind of bought into it. So clearly she's not fully comfortable, or her parents are also not accepting of, her sexuality, her true relationship with Yuri. I have to say, I really love that scene because you mentioned, Juliana likes to think on the positive side. She jokes about her not going to a nunnery, but after Yuri leaves, you can see how like nuanced your acting is because her face falls almost immediately when she kind of realizes how they might have to try to make this work and if they can contact each other again.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like everybody has somebody in their life that's like strong in front of them, but as soon as like they would like go to their rooms or something, they're the one that cries. It's like the older sibling thing, to like kind of feel like you have to like protect. So I think that she definitely has that of like listen, you don't need to worry. You're already worrying about enough, so let's think about the positives. But in reality, she kind of knows, like, hey, I can't be naive with the situation. Hey, I can't only think about the pros because there are definitely some cons. And towards the end, you can kind of see like her being like, okay, like this is a little weird. Like, hey, what you doing? Which is valid. Like, it's a scary thing. Long distance is scary at the end of the day.
How was Juliana's time abroad? Do you think she made the most out of her studies in the UK?
I think so. I think she seems like a person that would like get along with a lot of people and like kind of be easy to make friends with. So I think she's making the best out of it. As I probably would do as well, of like, let me at least try to make some friends so that I can have like a little bit of fun and not worry all the time and only have my mind circling the bad. So hopefully, like I hope so. I don't want her to suffer.
The set deck in the kind of dorm room that Juliana had with all the colorful artwork was so brilliant, and I'm sure you loved being in that space.
Yeah, there was actual artists like drawing all of that in there, and I was like, this is crazy because I can't draw like mine. Everything is like stick figures. I was not blessed with that talent. Other people in my family, yes, me, not at all, not at all.
So Juliana, she displays some jealousy towards Kitty over FaceTime calls with Yuri once they reconnect. What kind of thoughts is she working through once she learns about Kitty and how fast that new friendship has formed?
I feel like anybody would be like, am I getting cheated on? Like, is this what's happening? Or like, is there something more going on? Because at the end of the day, like, their relationship probably started in a similar way, like they were friends and then like more kind of happened. So I feel like it's a valid concern. I feel like you can only be just a little bit hesitant and not trying to be toxic at the same time. Like, she's never like, well, you can't hang out or you can't do this, but being honest about those feelings of like, hey, like, you kind of said the same things, or like, what's going on? Like, I feel like that's a very valid feeling to be like a little nervous and scared, especially when you've never had a long distance relationship and it's not your choice to have one. You kind of got jolted into this. Like, what if all of a sudden she feels differently? Um, a lot of feelings would probably go through my head as well. So I think she's just dealing with it the best that she can. And I don't necessarily even think that it's like her being mad at Kitty or like trying to be mean to Kitty. It's just like, hey, the situation at hand is a little weird to me, and I'm just keeping my eyes open.
What's interesting is we don't see this would happen off screen, but Margot, Kitty's sister, was the one that was supposed to have tracked Juliana down, kind of got them in contact. So barring any like flashback scene to that, because unfortunately we didn't get to see Janelle cameo in the show, but how do you think that interaction went? Like, was she at school walking on the street and some a random person came up to her?
I just assume like school in uniform with people, and all of a sudden somebody stops you like, hey, like you went to blah blah blah, and I'm like, whoa, yeah, I did. And then that conversation happening, and I don't think she would ever like be mean about it. I think she would be like, oh my gosh, like, are you kidding me? Like, I'll take any opportunity I can to like get in contact with the people that I actually know. So I think it would be like a funny off guard moment.
She seems like someone who would kind of go with the flow. So yeah.
Absolutely. Just be like, sure, like, why would you lie about this? It's not something that somebody would necessarily just know, especially if they're like closeted and stuff like that. So I think she would just immediately be like, oh, wow, like, you're not lying to me.
And Juliana reunites with Yuri at the airport at the end of episode 10. How nice was that reunion scene to film?
I think for like Juliana, it's like almost bittersweet of like, oh my gosh, yay, like you're back at home, where and where you went to school and like with everybody. But at the same time, it's like that moment is cut short because she gets on the phone. And that can only like, validate like the, I guess, bad thoughts in your head that you were like the little things that you were suspicious of, because it's like, you haven't seen me in all this time yet, you didn't fully take it in, and you like left because of a phone call, which at the end of the day, her phone call was valid. She is concerned about something, and that's valid in itself, but to somebody else it can feel like a slight to them. So I feel like it was definitely bittersweet, bittersweet moment.
How much of that conversation do you think Juliana heard? Like, did she hear all of it?
Yeah, she was hearing that. She was hearing that conversation. That was a little side eye. That was a little and valid. And valid.
I feel like the side eye was also when Yuri was like, "Oh, I want to introduce you to Kitty," but Juliana, she says like, "I saw her and she left, but I don't really care," kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
she's like
like you
she
mentioned,
was in the back. She was in the
it's
back. Like,
it's all very valid, and for Juliana, like especially because she was so sure of their relationship prior to leaving, prior to the introduction of Kitty. So like you mentioned, it's probably more so the situation rather
yeah.
than her trying to label Kitty as like
Yeah. It's
some kind of
definitely not a Juliana versus Kitty, like, let's fight. Like, it's more of a thing of like, hey, this moment was supposed to be about this, and I don't want it to be lost because of other stuff. There's plenty of time to get into everything else, but I want to say hi to you. Like, you know what I mean? We haven't seen each other in a long time. So it just can feel like a little weird, but I definitely don't think it's like actually like malice towards Kitty.
and it would definitely be interesting to see what interactions those characters could have in the future. But what was it like working with Gia as a scene partner as you shared most of your scenes opposite her and really finding kind of that bond that your characters share?
Yeah, I feel like it was like everybody in the cast was like super easy to work with, Gia included. It's just like everybody was kind of like, yeah, let's do this. Like, let's have a good time. And everyone in the crew just make sure you feel comfortable as well. But it was really like there's nothing that's like bad about any situation at all. Like we were all like really like friends, and like people had like big sister, little sister vibes, and definitely like in that vein as well. Everybody's like super sweet. Cass super sweet. She's super sweet. There was nothing that was like bad about it at all.
Which was your favorite scene as a viewer and why? So, scene that Juliana was not in.
Oh, a scene that Juliana's not in. My favorite scene. I kind of like when I was gonna say Anthony, but Q. Uh, Kitty has her dream about Yuri, and it's just like Q knows, and he's just like, and making faces while he's supposed to be drunk. Like, I think Anthony's little acting in that it's so funny to me every time he's on the scene. And then I love when Jocelyn Madison, she's just in the side and she was like, "Ooh, juicy," and the way she says her stuff makes me laugh. So those two scenes I like a lot. Um, and then I think like I don't know any of the scenes that like make the plot just go like and complicate things even more. I'm like, that's cute. It's very cute.
You're all for a good plot twist.
Yeah, absolutely.
You filmed the series last year, spring, summer in Seoul, South Korea. Describe your time in Seoul, their culture, and some of your favorite memories from just kind of soaking in being in a new place.
It was wild. It was really, really wild. Coming out there by myself, it was like my first time being alone, like living alone. I have like an older sister. She's a year older, so we're always together, like 24/7. And that was the first time like fully out of the country for a long time by myself. And that was kind of like a wake-up call in itself. But overall, the culture is so cool. So everyone was so nice. The food amazing. And the cast that's actually the ones that are from Korea, they showed us a lot of places to go. We did like bouldering, like rock climbing. We would have like cast nights where we'd eat food. There was tea time, a lot of different things like that. So it was just like a lot of different memories. My mom and my sister came out, then my girlfriend came out, and I saw like a lot of like the cultural places, traditional buildings and stuff like that. That was really, really cool. I like being a tourist in places, so I got to be a tourist out there and see like cool buildings, like really, really old buildings that are like still intact. And I'm like, that stuff is so, so dope. But it was fun. And I went to amusement parks out there, which I like to do anywhere. I'm big on trying out new amusement parks. And there was this huge ride that me and my girlfriend got on that was crazy. Like I was genuinely like shaking before, just like in my seat, like I'm like, they're gonna tell me to get off this ride because I think I'm like dying right now. And it had this huge drop, and from far away you can see how big it is, and every time you just walk closer it just got bigger and bigger, and I was like, so that was like very memorable. But just all of that in general in a nutshell.
Well, you survived to tell the tale, so that's a good thing. How much did you end up bringing back from Korea back home?
Too much. A lot, a lot, a lot. To the point I thought it was smart. You know, you stay in a place for some months or something. I thought it was smart to pack all my bags hours before the flight. And I realized that I accumulated a lot more stuff than when I came with. And I had not 1 ounce of sleep before I got on my flight. It was hours of just being like, how does this fit? Push it in, blah, blah, blah. And there was no time to buy another suitcase. Like, it was now or never. And yeah, me and my girlfriend we were running on no sleep, no nothing because of the amount of stuff that we accumulated, and it was very rough, very rough. So now I know if I go back to start packing maybe like the last week of being there instead of like the last few hours, because you end up having a lot of stuff, a lot of cute little knickknacks for people. Everything like has these cute little faces on it. And like, I just wanted to buy so many things. I have a big hat of like this little like chicken, and it's so cute. But then I had to realize I had to stuff that somewhere, you know? So it was interesting.
At least extra time to buy another suitcase or maybe just pack an empty one.
Yeah, that's definitely. I'm like, Reagan, bring less clothes and bring an empty suitcase instead, because you're gonna buy stuff out there that you're gonna wear, that you're gonna use. And like, I know now, like, I know better now.
You kind of touched on this briefly, but if renewed for season two, like, is there anything in particular you'd be excited or looking forward to explore with Juliana's story?
Yeah, I think I would want her to just be very honest about like, or like very open to the reality in front of her. Like, yes, you can love people, but at the same time, if there's other things in play, don't put yourself in a situation that's messy. You don't need to, you know what I mean? You can always take a step back and be like, figure this out, and then if this is what you want, I'll be here. If not, I think that's one thing. But honestly, at the end of the day, I just would want her to be happy. I like seeing, you know, Black queer characters happy at the end of the day and not having to suffer and not having to struggle in different ways. So whatever would give her happiness would be like the route that I would want.
Also, I guess coming back to Kiss, because we didn't really get to see you interact, obviously, with a lot of the other characters and students. You do have the uniform, though. There was some kind of promo filmed with that.
Yeah, yeah. I just, if she's back at Kiss, like hopefully, like she's not in, you know, far away going to school. But if she is back at Kiss, like I would love for people to see like her and Q like being friends and like that dynamic of them, because I feel like he's very funny and open as well as she's like kind of honest and open. I think it would create like a cute dynamic between the two. Also, I think that they would be great support systems. And then it would be really interesting to see Juliana and Kitty, how that dynamic is going to work out, because I don't know, like they don't, she's not going to hate her, but I don't think they would be necessarily the best of friends, you know? So seeing that play out at the school would be really, really dope. And who knows? I've seen a lot of things of being like, well, what if Kitty and Juliana were roommates? How awkward would this be? And I'm like, you know, I don't know. It might be real weird, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think that they would have to fight over Q. Might be caught in the middle.
He would. He definitely would.
Obviously, Iceland Music Festival and Northern Lights, that's still something that I think viewers would like to see. It's something that, you know, Juliana and Yuri really talked about a lot in their conversations.
Yeah, definitely. I think yeah, if that's where it goes, and like that's where like they want to take the show and like have that happiness there. I was like, at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm all for the characters being happy and going where they want. It's same for Kitty as well. I'm like, so many ships are happening. And I'm like, what if Kitty wants to be by herself at the end of the day? And I'm like, I'm for Kitty's happiness. That's how I am for like all the characters. I'm like, wherever they are and they're happy, healthy, and like living good, that's what I'm for. But I know we need some messiness in there. So I'm like, we can make it a little messy. It's okay.
You're like, there definitely needs to be some drama. If everything's just happy, I mean, it's a good thing, but viewer
We
wise,
can put some mess in it. We'll sprinkle in some mess, and then at the end of the day, they'll be happy.
well, it was so nice to hear you talk about EXO Kitty and season one, and we can't wait to see, hopefully, season two, fingers crossed. We'll talk about some other kind of projects, passions of yours now, starting with working with different brands, which you've done over the years, brands like Nike, Reebok, Sunny D, Benefit Cosmetics. Tell me about what you look for before collaborating and choosing brands whose values really align with your own.
Yeah, I definitely just pick brands that I actually like connect to. Like, I'm not really interested in like partnering with things that I don't actually wear, don't actually use. So if I have some type of connection to it, then I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I still am open to working with things that I don't necessarily know that I could end up liking. I would just have that trial period. But like Sunny D, that was my favorite childhood drink. So as soon as I was approached with that, I was like, yes, 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 let's do it. Like that's what I drank every single day as a kid. So things like that. Obviously, Nike. I was a big Nike person. I would wear Nike Blazers like all the time in elementary school to growing up still in my Nike Blazers and stuff like that. Reebok, the same thing. Like I work with a lot of brands that I kind of align with, which I like. I won't put my views and beliefs aside for a collaboration or a check. So I've worked with some cool ones and more to come, hopefully.
I love that. And also like some really cool campaigns that these brands do, like Reebok had the human rights now that you were a part of. And that's because outside of, working with brands, you're very vocal, passionate about creating social change. What are some resources or activities that you would recommend, especially for young people who are interested in learning more about their communities and socio-political issues?
I would say find grassroots organizations that are in your city and in your state. Find those organizers that are there and just follow them on Instagram. Like that is like the first thing that you can do that will jolt you into a whole different world of thinking. Their Instagram, their TikTok, slowly your feed will be filled with different things where you're like, oh my God, I didn't even think about it this way. Oh my God, I didn't even know. I follow accounts that will have like activists and like social commentary on TV, movies, and stuff. And there's things that I haven't even seen that I'm like, okay, now I know that it deals with this, this, and this that aren't necessarily right in this way, and blah, blah, blah. That kind of stuff really shapes the way that everything you consume shapes the way you view things. And I think it's very important to consume things that will push you further in the right, like in the direction you want to be in. So yeah, I always say start by just like finding those organizers and finding those leaders and stuff like that and listening to their podcast, connecting with them through social media and stuff like that. That is how I did it. Like I literally followed people and I was like, oh, you told me to read this book, let me see. And then there's certain things that once you start understanding things, you form your own opinion on and your own beliefs on. And so there's things that I thought back in the day that I've developed way, way past those beliefs in this nowadays. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, follow them on Instagram, follow them on TikTok, follow them on Twitter, support them in the same way that you would like to be supported. And a lot can go really far. There's reading lists that they give you where you can like, read all those books and like I said, develop your own beliefs on certain things. But there's a lot happening in the world. And I think right now is the perfect time to be educated because we are kind of in now or never situations. And those now or never situations are life or death for a lot of people on this planet. So yeah, despite what maybe your grandparents believe or your parents believe and stuff, go out, find research yourself, learn about it, and see what you will believe yourself at the end of the day.
Thank you for sharing that. So many helpful things in there, and it all has to start somewhere. So, like you mentioned, it could start as a follow, just even like you can go on Google and look for those organizations. So hopefully people go and do that because I know a lot of people out there just they want to be involved and they see even people like you posting about all of this stuff like Black Lives Matter. There's so many different issues that are important to you, like the feminist future you did some work on and a song for that. And that kind of connects the two passions of yours, which is also music. You are both a solo artist, but also with Ryan, your sister, and Rhyme or Rhythm and Vibe. And you're really heavily inspired and influenced by like this political social change and commentary. So why was it important for you to have this component in your lyrics?
They say like music and art is supposed to reflect the times. And yes, that can be very fun at times. We can always get things that make music that lifts people's spirit. You don't always want to be upset about the world. So there's times you make music that makes people feel light and lift them up so that they can keep going the next few days. But at the same time, there's the music that has to be honest. And I think creating a balance of that is really, really important of, reflecting what's going on in the world and using your passions, your gifts, and your art for good, as well as happiness, and That's just something I'd like to prioritize because I think it's important. I think that we should do that in all forms of everything that we do in life. There should be steps on how to use it for the bettering of the world. But yeah, it's very important. And like I said, with at the beginning of this interview, people like Lauryn Hill really inspired me to do that. You know, she has so many songs where I'm like, you wrote this in 1999 and it's still relevant to this day. And you know, hopefully the songs that I end up putting out or I end up making right now won't be relevant in a couple, you know, in like 20, 30 years if we all strive for this better future right now, you know.
Freedom Rider, really great song. I have to say, like watching some of those old videos, you two also just have so much fun together. Who would you say are your current musical influences?
Oh, current. I'm still like Lauryn Hill always, Missy Elliott always, Janet Jackson always. I feel like they don't really change much. Kendrick Lamar as far as rapping goes. I love Doechii. I love who else? Who else do I listen to? Anderson .Paak I love. Yeah, I like a lot of the like creative merging genres, merging like, you know, having like a unique artistry type artist. Brie Runway's amazing. Yeah, it doesn't really change much. Just like any pretty much artists that just embody who they are and it's in like this unique way, like the Janelle Monáes and all of that. That's really what interests me. But yeah, still Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill's always gonna be clocking in at number one.
The Queen, yeah.
Number one.
Your flow, like it's so captivating, like you mentioned, really sharing the good and bad parts of life and of the stories that you want to share. What is your writing process like? Like, do you sit down and kind of work through a song? Like, what happens when an idea pops into your head when you're on the go?
Yeah, if I'm on the go, I just voice memo. I have so many voice memos that it's like crazy and I probably should label them because when I'm searching it just is like numbers as like 352,000 blah 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 and I'm like I don't know where that idea went. But sometimes it's like things hit you in random times. Like I'll be driving to a friend's house and I'll be like, "Oh yeah." And I'll say something and I'm like, "Oh, that's a good bar." And then I kind of keep adding to it as time goes. Or maybe if I'm at home, I would just sit down and write the full thing. If I'm in the studio, then I'm making a full-fledged song. Or I could be in the shower and like a melody and I'll just record the melody and revisit it later. So it's like always different, but it's pretty much just whenever that idea comes, I just am like save it and we'll work on it, you know, when the time is right.
And we expect new music this year.
Absolutely. We are working on a lot of stuff to release pretty soon. I want to release a couple things during summer. Um, so it's pretty exciting. I'm gonna probably release like a pre-save link for people to pre-save a song soon. One that is like a very feel-good song, to kind of like inch into where we're gonna be taking this new wave of music. Because a lot of stuff I've taken down off of the Spotify's and off of that because I kind of wanted to rebrand. Different music elements. But yeah, very soon. Very soon. And I say very soon all the time. But at the same time, there was like other elements that were stopping it because I started acting more and like that took up a lot of time when you're in different countries and stuff like that. So now I'm here for a little bit and working on projects out here. So like that makes me be able to balance it out a little bit more so that I can put out music and have music videos. And I'm excited for that because music is really like my first love and my first baby.
That's so exciting. And I have to say that your artistry identity, it's so bold and colorful. So I love that you kind of know who you are and what you want to put out there. And that's important for any artist, like really figuring out your identity. You gained an audience on TikTok over the past few years. What have you really like embraced and enjoyed about using this platform?
Oh, TikTok's fun. That's what I really love. It's like I don't think too hard necessarily about what I post on TikTok. Like Instagram and stuff gives me a heart attack. Like when I post, I'm like, should I post that? Like, should that be the cover photo? TikTok, I'll just be like, and post. And here's me running in the street and post. Here's me singing a song and post. But with rap videos, I think like TikTok was like the most supportive platform for all of it. And really like help me like keep putting those out because I've been doing them since I was like 15. I'm 23 now, you know, so it's like getting on that platform kind of refueled me to do that. And now it's like less rap videos, more working on the real music. And like all of them are still like waiting, like, we're here to support you when you drop music. We're here to like, you know, be that fan base. And I, you know, you can't take that for granted. That's a really like dope thing. So I love the platform. I just be posting on there random stuff. If people see it, then before I delete it, then they saw it. But it's fun. It's probably like my favorite social media now.
And you have so many like great videos there. I know you kind of do the kind of improv. You have some raps there. I think you've referenced like Pennywise the Clown, Powerpuff Girls. Anytime you can spin that into something that's like witty is, I think, a win-win situation.
Yeah, I've realized in the past few years that I reference like a lot of cartoons, movies, and TV shows and stuff like that a lot. Like some people will reference like sports all the time, like basketball terms, but to me, I'm like talking about Star Wars, talking about Powerpuff Girls. I talked about like Pennywise, a lot of different like Avatar I've talked about. I did a whole anime rap about like My Hero and like Hunter x Hunter and all this kind of stuff. I reference a lot of cartoons. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know if people are gonna get some of the stuff that I'm saying. I reference Cars, like the movie Cars, and I was like, nobody understood that. But like to me, I'm like, yeah, that's a good bar. If you know, you know.
I mean, you're appealing to the pop culture lovers out there, people of your generation, and it works. You also love to share visuals of your life and offer a glimpse into your love life. Your girlfriend, Nat, she's an MMA fighter. You have a long distance relationship. So tell me about sharing that aspect of your life and the importance of seeing like healthy queer love on a public platform.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun thing. I remember like before I got into this relationship, I like me and my friends were talking when I was like, yeah, like they were like, we're never sharing a relationship on social media again. Like, no hard launching anything, soft launch. And I was like, yeah, me too, me too. As soon as I met her, I was like, so guys, post, post, post. Like, I realized I'm just not a quiet type of like loving person. Like, if I love somebody, I want the world to know that and I want them to feel that way, you know, like if I love you, like I want everyone to know, you know, and I want to shout it on top of like mountaintop. So it's been a really like cool experience. Like she's an MMA fighter. I'm make music and act, and it's a very unconventional thing. She lives across the country in New Jersey. I'm in LA. So like there's a lot of things where it's like it's not not necessarily like an ideal or like an easy situation, but it makes it kind of cooler because it's like we actively choose each other every single day. You know, we choose to be in this long distance relationship. We choose to have, you know, careers that can take us in different places and where we can't see each other for long times. We choose each other on the daily. And I find that to be just like, I think it's the hopeless romantic in me that's like, oh, that's even better. Like, this is meant to be. But it's really fun. I think people seeing happy, healthy, queer love that is very like people that are proud to be in it is really important. Instead of seeing like the drama online between like lesbians and all of this, seeing just them feuding and going back or somebody jumping to this person, blah, blah, blah. Like seeing people that are just secure and happy, like that's a really important thing. And that's the stuff that I like to see. So hopefully other people like to see us as well. And if they don't, I apologize because I post a lot about it.
I am really happy for the two of you, and I know you motivate each other, which is so important in a relationship. Has Nat trained you in any combat fighting skills?
I get this question all the time. I'm terrible at all of the above. She does like jujitsu and like the wrestling stuff and the boxing stuff, all of that kind of stuff. If you see me throw a punch, I'll be like it's bad.
Hasn't gotten any better.
We've been working I've been taking like boxing classes. She showed me a few jujitsu moves, and like people were in her classes and stuff like that. They were giving me compliments. They were like, yeah, like if you really focused, you could do it. And I was like, don't hype me up because then I'm gonna start acting like I'm the best at this. But we've been slowly getting there, and I've definitely seen myself not be as like frail and floppy with certain things now and like trying to because she's so good at it. But it's really one of those things that I'm like more just like I go to her practices to watch her, you know what I mean? Like I'm in awe of what she does, and I recognize like it's an art form in itself, and I just am not that good at that art form, you know what I mean? I have my own stuff, she has hers, and like I'm just in awe of it. Like I think it's so cool. It's scary at the same time, but no, I'm not that good at it.
We
Not that good at
definitely
it.
don't want to see people you love get hurt. But she has a big fight coming up at the end of May as well.
Yeah, it actually just got pushed to July 1st. So we're excited about that. She's still in camp, like training for it. Her fights are so terrifying for me. Not to center myself in her stuff, but it's like I'm literally sitting there on the little stand shaking, like violently shaking, because it's like you're watching somebody you love in a fist fight and like all this kind of stuff. But like I think she's the greatest fighter. So I'm like, she's gonna win. Like no matter how scared I am, I'm like, she's gonna win. Yeah, she got this. But it's cool. It's really cool to see.
And you got matching tattoos in Seoul. If you're willing, could you share the meaning behind it? I think it was swim in
Yeah,
unfamiliar water. Yeah.
you can kind of see it. Yeah, we both got them. They say swim in unfamiliar water and they have a koi fish. Outside the hotel, when we look down, there's like a big koi pond. And so when we had to walk to the grocery store or anything like that, we would pass the koi pond. So I was like every day for like these months, like I would be staring at these koi fish. So I thought that that was kind of reminiscent of the experience in Korea. I wanted to get something that kind of like encapsulated that of like I see these things every day and they're beautiful, you know? And then the swim in unfamiliar water is kind of like, you know, like when things are new to you and things are something like you've never experienced, just because you've never experienced it doesn't mean that you can't just go 100% in it. This being my first Netflix show, like it was a very unfamiliar thing for me and a scary experience at the same time. And it's like, hey, like keep going, like you got this, you're here for a reason. I think the same thing for her, like, you know, her getting signed to a big promotion's like, hey, this may be different, but you work to be here, you know? So even if something feels weird and you feel out of place for a little bit, you've earned that place, and like to kind of like stand 10 toes in it. And getting it matching with her is like another layer of like this relationship is kind of like a thing that to me was unfamiliar. It's my first queer relationship. It's a lot of things that are new to me. And openly being queer on the streets and like people can judge that in different ways. It's like I'm still standing 10 toes in a sexuality with the person I love. And again, shouting that on every rooftop, mountaintop that I can imagine, and still being proud of it. So it's kind of one of those things of like, even if it's weird to you, be there, enjoy it. You're there for a reason. Yeah, and I like it a lot. I think it's cute. It made me want to get more tattoos. And it was just a nice experience. And every time I look down, I'm just like, oh, like it gives me a good feeling. And as I get older, I really feel like it's gonna even like age with more meaning because I got it at a certain time in my life that like is gonna mean a lot to me in the future as well.
What a sentiment to keep with you and keep on your body. It was announced last August that you joined the cast of Marvel's Disney Plus series Ironheart. Obviously, we can't talk big spoilers here, but describe that day for you, August 31st, when that news was shared with the world.
Oh yeah, I was freaking out. I was freaking out when I first found out. Another thing that I booked in Jersey, because Jersey's a lucky state. So I was freaking out having the audition in general. I tell everybody that knows me knows like I'm a really, really big Marvel fan. My mom's a big Marvel fan, grew up like opening nights to every single movie, comics, all of it. And I would tell everyone, like, I just want to be like somebody running in the background, or like, let me just scream on camera, or let me get like, you know, Thanos snaps and you guys can see me disintegrate on camera. Like, I wanted anything, you know? So when I got that call for an actual role, I was like, there's no way. And I put my life and soul into that audition and just prayed, you know? So getting it was just surreal. I didn't really know how to feel. And I just kept being like, manifestation is a crazy thing. The Lord is a crazy thing. Like the things that can happen for you when you work for it, you know, it's like, it's really, really, really wild. And I still probably don't have the words for it because every time I try to create that, like explain that feeling, like I start tearing up. It's just weird. That's all I can say. Like it's weird. It's very weird and surreal and crazy.
Creator, head writer Chinaka Hodge, such a visionary in their own right. What interactions have you had with Chinaka? Like, how do you relate to Chinaka?
Oh, love, 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 love. Just making me feel so comfortable, confident, uh really being a person that kind of like how I was saying with my tattoo, swim in unfamiliar waters, somebody that can really make you feel like you worked for this. Like, don't you dare second guess yourself. Like, you are in this 100%. You are embodying this. Like, man, like her presence, like I'm so grateful, like to make me feel 100% like comfortable in a situation with like, like working, like it's like just so grateful, like so grateful. She's amazing, like amazing.
And she's a poet, musician, educator as well. So I see a lot of like parallels
Yeah,
between you
like
and her.
yeah, there was a lot where we would just be like, we're the same. Like we see eye to eye here. You know what I mean? Yeah, like that's one of those situations where like I'm like truly blessed for somebody else's mind. You know what I mean? Like she's a heavy hitter, like a visionary and so talented. Just one of those people where you just look and you're like, oh, like you're just so talented. Like that's crazy. Like, can I have a sliver? Like, please. But yeah, blessed to be working with her.
Well, you're talented too, but I'm sure some of it rubbed off when you were working on set. What specific Marvel films and characters have really spoke to you and connected with you?
I love so many. I love Black Panther. I love Doctor Strange. I love Scarlet Witch. Like there's so many people that I really really love, and I think that's because I like their comics and I like their story arcs. Black Panther like will always be like something like someone that I'm just like so in awe of. Chadwick, like, oh, so talented. One of the only people that I've like celebrities that I just like bawled when he passed away. Like that kind of impact that somebody can make is like you can only like want to be like just half of that, you know what I mean? So relating to his portrayal of Black Panther so much. Scarlet Witch's pain on screen is like crazy. Like her Elizabeth eats that up. So many. Like I can go on Marvel rants for days. But yeah, I love me some Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, and so many more.
Those are some really heavy-hitting selections for sure. And speaking of Black Panther, we know that Dominique Thorne's reprising her role as Riri from Black Panther Wakanda Forever alongside actors like Manny Montana, Anthony Ramos, Alden Ehrenreich, Lyric Ross. Don't know who you interact with, but tell me about connecting with co-stars and this cast offset.
Everyone's super sweet. Super sweet. I won't say much because I don't want to slip up with anything, but every
You're like, you try so hard. You must have gotten so good at secret keeping over this past while.
yeah, it's a lot with a lot of different projects now, like where I'm just like holding things in. And it's not really that difficult. It's more of just like I like to err on the side of caution with stuff, but like as far as actual actors and people in real life, everybody on that set is like just so sweet. And very hardworking, and it shows. It really, really shows. Like that much effort put into your craft, it will always show up. So yeah, I'm blessed to be working with really, really talented people, and connecting with really, really talented people, as well as the crew, on EXO, on Ironheart, on other projects that are going to come out. Crew is always the glue that keeps things going and keeps all of us going. And they were very sweet, very hardworking, very just like playing so many roles. Like they were like my like hair and makeup with my therapist. I mean, they're just like, this is what's going on and blah blah blah. And they'd be like, oh my God, like so and so's with so and so, like gossiping with them. Like it was all the sets I've been on have been like super, super like that and super fun.
Speaking of crew on Ironheart, Sam Bailey, Angela Barnes directing the series, what did it mean to be on a set like that that really celebrated and supported women filmmakers? Same with Exo Kitty as well, but you've been
Yeah,
on some good ones. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Exo Kitty having the same thing as well. It feels good. Like you feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself, and a part of something that's going to inspire a lot of people. And you feel that inspiration on set, you know what I mean? Like definitely one of my end goals in life is like wanting to direct and stuff. So really watching the way that they do stuff was really important to me. And watching the way that they can command a space. Very inspirational and very much like something that I would love to step into one day. And like I wish like I'm like using every bit of advice I can take from them. And yeah, just very, very inspirational to the outside world and to me as well. Like I'm so in awe of all of them, like so in awe. I think they are incredible.
You get the chance to shadow on set at all and ask a lot of questions? Are you trying to like hold back because you're like, I know you have a
Yeah,
job to do, but I have so much I want to say?
it's hard because it's like you get focused on your part of the job, but I definitely in the future would love to take a like, later in my life, take a step on the other side and hopefully like as I go and make more connections on more sets that I work on, like people would be open to me like kind of shadowing what they do and stuff. Like that's definitely on my bucket list.
For Ironheart, do you read any of the theories, rumors, speculations, or do you try to stay away from all of that?
Do I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
You're like, I'm avoiding that one. There is a lot out there. So I'm sure natural. I don't know. For me, I was like looking, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. And for someone like you who's like a big Marvel fan, might be hard to stay away. But
Yeah,
what can you tease?
I follow a lot of Marvel like pages and stuff, and anything they post, I'm like, I don't know. And the real thing is that a lot of stuff I don't know. Like I genuinely don't know. I go about things very interesting of like whatever my character doesn't know in anything, like Exo Kitty as well. I refuse to read. So watching Exo Kitty with everybody is kind of like a first time for me as well. Like if I felt like my character would not know this, I would not continue to read those scenes. So like it was a like a surprise to me as well with certain things. I was like, oh, so and so did that with who? Like I didn't even know that. And I choose to do it because I like to have that honest portrayal of like if somebody told me something, that's all she knows. Like she doesn't know more than that, with Juliana and any character I will play. I like kind of keeping it like that. Unless there's stuff where I have to know the context of everything, then I'll read it.
That's a really interesting method. And I think because you're just saying you want to live through it like the first time, essentially. Like you don't, yeah, you want it to be a surprise. So I like that method. And I have one more question for you, our signature question. If you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
Chocolate chip cookie dough, because chocolate chip cookie dough is the best. Um, I mean, the second best would be like Oreo cookie dough, but that's still kind of similar to chocolate chip cookie dough. But cookie dough is the best in ice cream, and that is why, because I think it's the best. Therefore, that's what I would want to be. Yeah, that's what I've been ordering since I was a child. I do not get any other ice cream but that. So that's honestly like my only answer. I would not have another.
Striving for number one. And I think that that ambitious quality is what has gotten you this far and continues as your career is growing. But I'd like to thank you so much, Regan, for taking the time to chat. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, for all those watching, you can catch Regan in XO Kitty Season 1 is out on Netflix, music, Ironheart, lots more upcoming, and we will see you next time.